Hey guys, welcome back to Karmic Central, the place where we uncover what's going on in the headlines. So let's talk about those 41 minutes. Okay, so that's the distance between a camera disconnecting and a pacemaker silencing. Okay, so let's examine that window because we know that that is a critical part of this timeline. We've done the breakdown. Go back to the previous video. If you are new here, let me just say this. If you're new here, I've been covering the Nancy Guthrie case since the beginning. Please go back to the previous videos. I'll try to link the ones that are most relevant to this specifically. So if you're interested in the timeline, breaking that down and getting into the nitty gritty in between stuff, stay tuned for the rest. All right. So we've had the 1:47 a.m. breakdown. We know that the camera disconnects. Now there could be three possibilities here. One, it could be just an environmental issue, the Wi-Fi drop. Two, there could be something going on as far as mechanics, maybe the power loss. Maybe it's, not intentional. Maybe there was some type of short circuit or something. Remember, I brought up the possibility of a circuit breaker, something like that. Now, we also know that, of course, it can be intentional tampering. So the question is, if 220 or 212 footage, if that exists, how is it recorded after 147? Okay. How is it recorded after 147? Because the possibilities are that 147 may have been a completely different camera. Okay, there could also have been something where a temporary reconnection could have happened, and that's what we're getting as far as a timestamp. There could also be some type of cloud event, log error, like I've talked about the ring being inconsistent with timestamps sometimes. I know that from my personal experience having one. The partial outage is the thing. Now that timestamp, we have to clarify it. So again, if 212 footage exists, how is it recorded after 147? All right, we have okay, stability. How is it recorded? Okay, stability, acceptance. It's almost like we're either being told to accept this time because it's integral in terms of the time stamps and the timeline, or somebody who's officially connected to this case is accepting it as like correct information. Now, okay, we do have imagery at 212. Okay. So that man with the backpack at the front door, we got to ask some questions about him. Okay. So was this entry or an exit? Was this entry or an exit? Okay. We have gain, an idea, and luck. Was this an entry or exit? Gain access to something. Um, see something about something they can see. So seeing, being aware, something about seeing something in a private situation, seeing something in a private situation. I don't know, that's super weird. Somebody could be 41. um One last card clarifying this. Was this an entry or an exit? Okay, we have the death card and a mask. Okay, so this could have been an exit. Because with this death card, it feels like the end, but then with the gain card, it's like gaining access. So again, that leave that up to interpretation. Right there, I'm not gonna get too caught up in that. It may not be that significant, okay? Because maybe this is a part of the timeline that actually makes sense because um we have actual footage of something, so we need to take it at face value. Could be significant. Okay, was this reconnaissance? Was this staged? We have stubbornness here. Something about someone being arrogant, but they could also be getting like help somewhere from an ex-lover. Somebody doesn't want to hear something though. Was this after the event? Okay, two cards here. Three, eternal love. This looks like a couple who is, this is either a couple whose alibi is weak right now or fragile, or this is in reference to the victim. But it feels more so like with the reconciliation or rebuilding. It's though like there's a couple here that's trying to get their story straight. Something about it is weak. Um, so does this okay, let's get into something important. Does this align with the 147 disruption? Or is this like independent? We have origin. Okay. So this could have something, but it came out in the reverse. Okay, so this could be the origin, but it can be something about it is still disrupted. I don't know. It's something about it is strange. Um, Now let's get into 228. Okay, 228 is when the pacemaker disconnects. 16 minutes later. Okay, so that's very tight, almost too tight to ignore because there's only so much that you can do during that time. All right, now what causes a pacemaker app to disconnect? Now we know for a fact. Hold on one second. Sorry, I have like the whiniest little puppy. She is trying to fight her sleep right now, but she knows she's supposed to be going to sleep. All right, so we were talking about the pacemaker. We know certain things that can happen for it to disconnect. So it could just be the power turning off, which I don't know what would make it do that. I don't know what could cause a pacemaker to turn off, especially if they said that the pacemaker doesn't necessarily turn off if the person dies, which that doesn't really make sense. Okay, but then there's the possibility of the phone being destroyed during this time. There could just be, we could be tracking the separation between the phone and the person. There could be a medical event happening here, or there could be, you know, at its worst, forced removal. And I've been talking about the possibility of her being dispersed, but again, I do not want to get into that too much. Now, if Nancy was incapacitated before 12 or 212, right? Why does the pacemaker disconnect later? So let's get into those two questions. One, what causes the pacemaker app to disconnect? We have merit making. What caught humanness? Something natural. Something natural could have happened with this humanist card. It kind of makes me feel like, this could have been just a level of stress. Something, there could have been a disruption. Maybe it doesn't turn off all the way, but there's some type of disconnection if her vitals get out of hand for whatever reason. If she experiences a certain level of stress or anxiety, maybe there could be some glitch. Okay. Why does the pacemaker disconnect later if Nancy was incapacitated before 12? Okay. Something about a photo or a screenshot. Something about a photo or a screenshot of something between a couple. They're connected to the app. Um, is the app on somebody else's phone? Like maybe the app is on Nancy's phone, but it's also on one of the siblings' phones. Something about that. Maybe something wasn't removed from a person's phone, like an app. Okay, weird. If she was alive at 212, what happens in those 16 minutes? That gap is surgical. What happens in that 16 minutes? Okay, four cards just flew out. All right, let's get into what happens. We have someone in a car. Okay, so worth, extravagance, desire, reservation. Someone is in a car. Okay, so there could be travel here. We have imagination. This is when things change. Something is like Somebody make something up, like using your imagination but lying. So some type of fantastical story is told about an adventure. And it looks like there's a lot of distance or travel involved with that. Okay. So between, if she was alive at 212, this is significant. Something significantly changes about her travel, her location in those 16 minutes. So in 16 minutes, they got her out of there. Or this is the time that the person, whoever is near her or involved in the situation, they do something, but they're also like moving her. Okay, so was 147 the true event and 212 maybe the aftermath, or vice versa? I don't know. Let's try to decipher between those two times, because it's starting to feel like, well, what happened first, the chicken or the egg? That's not exactly the correct question, but you know what I mean? It's like, well, if that's the case, so I employ everybody, please use your critical thinking skills. As you listen, the more, the more we kind of like discriminate each time that has been quoted, the sooner we are to the like the crux of this whole thing. Okay, so was 147 the true event and 212 the aftermath? Okay, we have freedom, surrender, and then a secret admirer, but this is timid. Okay, timid, surrender. Mm. She surrendered to something. Clarify, freedom, anxiety, worry. Okay, something was successful, something was achieved. There's a third wheel here, an enemy, somebody they can't trust. So, um, what do you guys make of that? Was 147 the true event and 212 the aftermath? It looks like something went down. It looks like something went down that the third party was involved. Okay, so who was, or was the 212 event, was the 212 event the event and 147 a test? Marriage came in reverse. Okay, but this is a couple. Somebody dependency, something about dependent, being dependent on a time. 147 being a test to to depend on. Clarify this marriage or this couple. Okay, withdrawal, disturbance. Okay, somebody's angry. Somebody could be angry during this time. Shifting, mimicking certain things. Something about 147 mimicking. Remember the doppelganger energy. Okay, something about that is significant. So 147 could be perceived as like something to what's another way of saying throw off the schedule, or something to add to it, like maybe add confusion, add the disturbance and the withdrawal. Okay, I can interpret this two different ways. 212 could be the event, or like where this withdrawal happened, where someone was plucked, disturbed from their home and plucked, or 147 is the test in terms of creating the moment of supposed entry, orchestrating that, fabricating some details about that. Okay, who knows? Again, I don't want to spend too much time here. Now, is 228 the real anchor? Is 228 the real anchor? We have confinement, unfreedom, We have freedom and unfreedom. Now, confinement, 228 confinement. Something could be caught up by this time. Somebody could have gotten blocked around this time. Or this is just at the, 228. By this time, Nancy is long gone in somebody else's captivity around this time. Okay, captivity is written on the card as I say that. That's crazy. Okay, so 228 is around the time that she's like already long gone. They split the situation. We don't know yet. That's what it feels like. We don't know yet. But law enforcement widening to January 1st definitely suggests that they're not locked in on these 41 minutes. They don't know what's going on. Like I said, people need to look at people's phones, and that's what they've been going through. They've been going through the email, they've been going through the phones, trying to corroborate that, match it up with the other stuff that's going on with the tech. They're investigating buildup. That's what it looks like. So I don't know, 41 minutes, it does feel like the technology interrupts. A person appears. There could be that biometric link that just goes silent, and that could possibly not be random. Okay. It doesn't feel random, but it's so hard to confirm. That's clustered though. So we'll continue to track. Hopefully nothing else changes. Hopefully we will not hear anything else as far as official timeline changes from Harvey, because I do not want to hear anything else from him. I hate the fact that he's become like the unofficial spokesperson, but I think that also plays into things being, you know, left up for interpretation almost. It feels as though like a bad game of telephone, to be honest, as well. But we know that there's a lot at stake. So um I am gonna pause it here. Let's come back for the interrogation. I do want to interrogate Sheriff Nanos first, or law enforcement in general, and then we'll go to the family members. Okay. Love you. See you in the next one.